Welcome to the John McEntyre Show live. This is John McEntyre, and today is May 17th, 2024. Year is flying by, but here we are. We're ending with this is Friday, and this is our final day of our second week. And so time is flying. It seemed like it was just yesterday we was doing our very first live, but here we are. Today's show is very I have a very good topic from a question that actually came in. We'll be talking about how either married or engaged couples can get on the same page financially. And I have with me Andrea McEntyre. She's one of my resident experts, and pretty much you're almost becoming a co-host because you've been here with me since the very first day. So this is also your 10th day, uh, 10th live show. So you're more than a financial expert. You're almost becoming a co-host here. And
John, I'm
so
glad to help in any kind of way. And I know not to get too comfortable because you will have different guests from time to time. So thanks for
yeah,
having me.
yes, we're working on lining up the professionals and getting schedules together so we can start having other professionals on and experts sharing their expertise. Which reminds me, if you know of someone that would be very good for the show, let us know. Or if you are someone who feels you have something good to share in the financial space, investing, budgeting, insurance, all the way across the board. Mental health, especially mental health. That's one of our driving core values here. Is we want you to be financially healthy, but financial health begins with mental health,
Absolutely.
and so that's one I want to really pull it out and stress it. Anyone out there in the mental health space who would like to share their expertise on uh, uh, building strong mental health, please contact us, and we'll definitely have you on. So, Andrea, let's get started here. Let's get with our wallet wins. We always want to start it off with our wallet wins. Celebrate the people who are doing something good with their money, whether it doesn't matter how large or small. If a small win turns into big momentum, and so
Absolutely.
yep. So, what do you have as far as wallet wins?
Well, our first wallet win today is someone actually said a 10-minute phone call to their insurance provider.
Hmm.
This was for property and casualty
Hmm.
insurance, or P&C, as many people call it. Um, Turned into saving $700 over the course of the year. So, 10-minute call yielded saving $700. So that's a huge wallet win.
Yep, definitely. That is a big win. And most people they don't think about that they can actually just call and renegotiate what's going on. In their life. That's why we have said plenty of times, if something changes, you let people know. Look at your plan and let people know. So um, why they made well, we know why they made the call to see if they can renegotiate some things, uh, and that's what we want you to do. But for instance, if you sell a car, you know, uh, you don't need to insure the car anymore. And it sounds like a no brainer. But I've seen that plenty of times when people have sold cars and then didn't think about, like, a few months later. They have to. The insurance company, they make things right, but at the same time, hey, up front, hey, I'm getting rid of this car, so I shouldn't have to be paying any more premiums on it or whatever, and need to renegotiate.
John, I'm glad you mentioned that example because I have one that a lot of people forgot about uh, during the pandemic and when most people had longer periods of working remote or work from home, school from home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you change the amount of miles that you travel on a daily and weekly
Mm,
basis,
that's a good
that is something that could impact your insurance, your auto insurance
that's a good
protection.
point. Yeah.
So calling to let them know that you're now working from home or your commute is much shorter than what it used to be,
Yep. Mhm.
that yields some savings. And then the opposite of that is if you're finding that you're going to be traveling a lot more, then you if you're traveling above, let's say, 10 to 20 miles on a daily basis, and you now, let's say, uh, quadruple that, then that's something that you would likely want to let them know.
Yeah.
But there's ways to save, and don't forget, canceling insurance on an old car, reducing the mileage, and then also, as we've mentioned, there's the preparation. If you're going to have an additional driver, especially a new driver, you might want to call and get
Right.
some
That's right.
ideas of what that will cost, so you're not having a sticker shock.
That's right. Right. That's exactly right. And you want to move them forward as quickly as possible to get them off of your insurance.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
I remember. I remember that day vividly. I was on my mom's insurance at first, and she would ask the question every so often. And you know how mom is, right? How she was. So when are you planning on getting your own insurance? That's a question. That's a roundabout way of saying, hey, it's time to do something. And so I had gotten comfortable. I was like, hey, cool. I'm not coming out of my pocket. But then that's how she motivated me to move forward. Is okay. This is how much the insurance is. Went and met with the agent and sat down, just so the agent knew our family very well, and he said, "This is how much your portion is." So then I started having to pay that. Then that's when I was like, okay, all right, I got you. I know what you're saying. I'm costing you money. Your child, your loving youngest child is costing you money, and I'm being a burden. So I can catch a hint, but
Well,
yeah,
I'm glad you gave that positive example. I had the responsibility conversation with my dad, and I was able to stay on his insurance until could stay on his insurance, and I wouldn't have to pay anything on it, my portion on it, unless I got a speeding ticket or an accident. Unfortunately, I inherited his lead foot.
that's what I was
So
gonna say. I remember
I
that. He was
I
only with
got
you for what, about 2 days or something like that, right?
let's not get into the details, but let's say within the first 30 days, I did go through a speed trap. Um, and I ended up getting a speeding ticket. Now, I was able to get a prayer for judgment. However, my dad made me actually start contributing to helping pay the insurance, because he wanted me to understand the responsibility and the consequences and the cost when you break the law or you do something. There's penalties. So I didn't have a long grace period, unfortunately. So it's something I certainly want to make sure that we pass on to our daughter, and we recommend that may be a good way to keep them careful when they start seeing what it will cost. It does improve responsibilities in a
Yeah,
lot of cases.
yeah, that's true. All right, so let's move on to the next wallet win. Next one is just saved my first $1,000 in my emergency fund, and which is a good wallet win. We love hearing that one. That's one of the big ones. That's one of the top three. Get that emergency fund saved up. Uh, but it's the way that they actually did it that I thought was very creative, and I was like, yeah, I can't wait to share this one. What they did, the first thing they implemented two strategies to get to that $1,000, and they did it in 1 month. Um,
Okay.
they did a no spend day. They didn't spend any money for
Okay.
that one
So
day.
no get grabbing coffee, no going out to lunch. So they took their coffee from home. They
They did
took their
not stop for
lunch.
gas. They didn't
Mm,
do anything. They didn't spend $1 for that day, one penny the entire day, and they put that into their emergency fund to start the emergency fund, and that was a real good one. So they did 4 days of that, and then they only spent for the entire month. They only spent cash. They went on a cash only basis, and what that made them do, there was no, I was like zero online shopping. They was like zero. I didn't do one shop. I was like, no Amazon, no eBay, no. And I said, so what else happened here? Well, I didn't eat out as much. I didn't order out as much because I couldn't. I was using only cash. So I was like, okay, so I see how 1,000 happened very quickly with those two strategies in place. Those were two very good strategies. That's a good challenge, yeah, for all everyone, that all of our viewers, and we're gonna definitely put that one up on social media and challenge everyone. That's a very good one. A no spend day and a cash only. Try it for one day, cash only one day, because that one that can be for me, my personal preference. That can become a headache for me. Uh,
Yeah, the convenience of being able to
yeah.
use your card or to use wallet pay if you happen to have it on any of your devices,
Hmm.
it's convenient from that standpoint. I would like to modify it just a little bit. So, cash only with the exception of things that you have on bill pay.
Yeah. Well,
So,
bill pay, that's different. I'm talking about just the day-to-day spending.
mhm.
What they were saying is I didn't make this purchase because I didn't have the cash. Well, they only had so much cash with them anyway. They was like, this is my daily budget, and they only had that cash. So they were very sensitive to what we've always said to people, before you make a purchase, ask yourself, do I really need it? Is it a need or is it a want?
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
they was like, uh, I didn't realize how much I would stop by a vending machine because with my card and, using it. And it was like, the thousand happened before the end of the month. I think it was maybe 3.5 weeks, something like that. It was like a few days left in the month and they had hit 1,000 because they said that they actually saved more than 1,000, but they celebrated it at 1,000. And I was like, wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It can be easy to spend quite a bit of money every day because you just have a card. It's just easy and convenient. The convenience of it, makes it happen. So they were very sensitive. They're very tech driven, and that's why I asked. I said, so you didn't use your phone, money pay, or Apple Pay, or anything like? Nope, it was all cash. Everything. I was like, what I needed. I had this. I think I forgot how much they said they had. They said I had it in an old school envelope, and they was
Mhm.
like, this is all I have for today. This is all I can spend for today. And so they were very, very sensitive with spending.
Well, I like the idea in so many ways. Um, it causes you to not only think before you make a purchase, it
Hmm.
also causes you to pre-plan.
Yeah, right.
So your plan that maybe you're taking your lunch or you only spend the cash that you have. You're
Hmm.
making sure you have gas and other things like that. So it's just really good to have some of those things maybe put them into automatic systems. So it's one less decision or thing that you have to think about. So I see it benefiting in that way as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Then we'll move on to the question. But since you said it, um, a lot of people don't realize that sometimes financial situations, negative financial situations happen uh, because of what they call decision fatigue. Um, and decision fatigue, like in the mental health world, it was like it's not good to make important decisions near the end of the day, especially if you've had a very busy day, because like your muscles and your body, your mind will get tired, and it becomes fatigue. We've said it plenty of times. Man, I'm so mentally drained. It's not that my body's not tired. It's just that I'm so mentally drained. And that's not a good time to make decisions because you are experiencing decision fatigue,
Absolutely.
which means your decisions won't be as sharp as you would make them. So if you have like major decisions to make, write them down or record them, whatever you're away, voice record or whatever, and make that decision the next day, the morning when you're fresh and you've had a good night's sleep. I've had coffee, so I'm good. I can make 1,000 decisions after a good cup of coffee. But at the end of the day, I had my coffee's worn off. I really saw the logic behind that. And I was like, yeah. And so I tested it on myself. I was like, wow, I do make decisions much differently in the evening, because sometimes something might irritate you, when in early in the day it probably wouldn't have irritated you, but because you're sort of fatigued, you kind of like, and you get short, you make more decisions are made, um impetuously near the end of the day. And earlier in the day you think them through. Later on in the day you just make a snap like decision, snap judgment, whatever comes to your mind first, you just make that decision. And they said that's where a lot of bad decisions have been made in the end of the day. So it
I
was good
agree.
that you brought up that point. You brought
I
that up.
agree.
Yeah, we would definitely be talking about that one. That's a good show within itself. So we'll be definitely get talking about that one in the near future. But now I want to get to the question that we had come in. Um, did you want to talk about it, or me?
Um, I'm happy to talk about it. So, with the question came in, I just got engaged, and so everybody's celebrating. Now, now what? Um, what do I do? How do I make sure that me and my future husband are on the same page financially? Now,
Hmm.
that's a big question to unpack.
Yep.
And I applaud them for even thinking about that proactively, as instead of just only thinking about the the wedding and the planning, and those are all important, but how you both think and handle your finances, that will be important not just for the wedding but for your life together.
True. That is exactly true. Save a lot of headaches and stress later on, because we all, you see the stats on a daily basis. Oh, 50% of the divorces are because of money. Well, pretty much the number one reason for divorce is money. Uh, Most people, for the longest, it was, the infidelity, things like that. Uh, then it slowly switched over to money. It became more divorces were caused behind money disagreements and money fights, than actual, uh, infidelity, uh, and mainly bankruptcies. Bankruptcies would happen, and said divorces usually go up. A divorce is much what 60-70% more likely after a bankruptcy, something like that, or a foreclosure, some major financial issue. Divorces get on the rise. So talking about money before marriage, that's, yeah, I was like, hey, this is a serious girl here. She's not playing. I was like, the guy that she's marrying, he should be, he needs to be on his toes, but he should be happy that she's willing to even go there.
Yes, because some people um, avoid that conversation, and that could be from how they grew up around money,
Hmm.
whether it was talked about or not talked about. So, since this question came along, I think it's a good time for us to talk about maybe three things. And there's certainly a lot more to discuss, but at least three things that, this person should focus on.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We did. We were talking about that before we went live. That it may be time to do an updated program. We did what, Merger Money, over 10 years ago, and it was like one of our most popular shows. It was on television, and the station was saying they had never received that many calls after a show, and said our show triggered a lot of phone calls. So it was probably one of the most, what they said, it was the most popular show that had ever been on their station, um, as far as their ratings or whatever. And I was like, well, yeah, it's a very sensitive topic. So this is a good idea. We'll do an updated program. But for today, the top 3 points to answer this question of how can my future husband and I get on the same page financially. First one is just the values conversation, just having that values conversation. We talked about it earlier. We've talked about it a couple of times this week, but that's just how important talking about values and sharing your values are, because I hear, in in the couple marriage relationship space, is there's a saying, opposites attract, which is true.
Yeah.
Most of the time opposites do attract, but what psychologists, psychiatrists have said is, while it is true that opposites attract, it's the commonalities that bond.
Yes.
The opposites will attract you, but there has to be common ground to actually cause the attraction to become bonding.
I'm glad you mentioned it that way because a lot of people get confused that your interest and your values are the same, and they're not.
No.
Because we could both be interested in staying active and healthy
Mm-hmm.
and have different values at, as it relates to money and our life philosophy.
True. That's exactly right. With the values, like I said, it's basic question: what's important about life to you? And financial, what's important about money to you? And that's a good question right out of the gate. It's not, how much money do you have? Do are you going to take me out? Are you going to do this? It's what's important about money. What's important about life? Because if you have a that attraction, for instance, it happened. One person is sedentary. They sort of like a homebody. The other one wants to be out, adventurous and all of that, which attracted that homebody, that adventurous spirit, not knowing that being adventurous can be expensive.
Yes,
Like all of those adventure hobbies, those and all of the equipment. I mean, we've seen it, like for instance, just with Bella by herself. um she does a sport or does something new or whatever. It's not cheap. So if you take that into marriage, now you're grown up, and those hobbies and adventures are are adult size now. Yeah, that can add up to a lot of money. So that homebody type person may not be too thrilled with all of this money being spent on all of these adventures.
that's true. That's true. That leads us, before we go into the next point,
Mm-hmm.
let's give a couple of examples of
Sure.
values.
Mm-hmm.
So one value may be that one partner values security. And so, but security means different things to different people, right?
Right, how it's described. That's exactly right. Yep. Yep.
Another could be freedom. And with someone, how they define freedom, it could be that one individual is um, it defines freedom as the ability to make their own decisions as it comes to how they earn money, and maybe they have an entrepreneurial spirit and
Mm-hmm.
they own their own business. Where the other person, their sense of security is a stable. Maybe they consider that business owners, the type of business they have, to be fluctuating, and they may view that as unstable based on how they define a job and working for a company as having stability. And they're both not wrong. They just have different views of how they define it.
Right. Yeah, that's all that it is. It's just a different way. So to know that the entrepreneurial type person, they seek ultimate freedom. That's like, they seek freedom in the biggest ways, whereas the person, financial freedom to them is doing it through employment, the traditional employment through a job, whereas the entrepreneur may see that as, no, that's not ultimate freedom, because you're still being told by somebody what to do, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it can cause a lot of conflict, because the entrepreneur may say, hey, I want to go to this festival. I want to go, to something that's outside of the country, where and the spouse maybe works for a company and they can't go. Why? I can't use any of my paid time off, or I've used it all up. And vacation, my vacation time isn't until the summer. Now you have, it's not thing that will cause arguments, but it's there.
Yes.
It is there. So, those are the types of things we have to pay attention to.
Yes, your values, how you define it, and don't just take the word of security and freedom um, as just face value. Ask more questions. Ask what does that mean to you?
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
and if that is a conversation that you're uncomfortable having with your new partner, I would strong or your existing partner,
Hmm.
I would strongly encourage that you work with a professional, and that professional can have that unbiased conversation and dig a little deeper and push you to to answer those tough questions and define it not only for yourself, but for your future partner. Um,
Oh, yeah.
because you need to have the conversation. Not having it doesn't make it go away.
No, that's right. We we've worked with countless engaged couples and married couples. The engaged couples are much easier because we're not having to dig through mess. We just talking to two individuals, and we get to understand the individuals. And while they're sitting there, they get to understand each other. Once they're married and now the emotions are high, people are mad, and all of these other things are coming into play. Now we've got to work through that first before we can even talk about finding a common ground. We've got to, like, okay, this this freedom seeker over here, they are very irritated, they are mad, and they feel like they've been well, both sides feel like they've been baited and switched. you know and so we're having to work through some serious issues before we can, everyone has to get calmed down and get their emotions in check, then we can start talking more. And it's not impossible. We've worked through those plenty of times, but we've seen some not so good outcomes happen on that side there, on the marriage side, whereas premarital couples, it you're working with them and you're talking to them, and one says, well, I want to do this all the time, and the other says, well, I don't exactly want to do it all the time if it's going to hurt the finances of the home. So then we can find those happy mediums. Then we can
Absolutely.
start the processes of compromise, and go, which goes into the next one: goals. What are your goals? And before we talk about goals, uh you brought up a point earlier talking about savers and spenders.
Yes. What's your money style?
Yeah, what is your money style? Yeah, that's a big one. With the values, usually it's the values. The money style comes out of the values. Well, pretty much everything, like we said before, when it comes to talking about values, everything stems comes from a person's values. The way they manage money, the way they make money, the way they live, everything is controlled by a person's values.
And many times, John, it's not that the person has clearly said, oh, that rubs against my values. They may not have the words to
Right.
describe what's going on, but it could be situations maybe from how they grew up within their family. Was
Hmm.
money talked about?
Hmm.
Was there arguments? Was there a divorce? Were there things that they saw or didn't see that really helped them develop their money style intentionally or by default?
That's right. Yep, that's a very good word. That's another word that's high on our value system here on this show is intentionality, being intentional. Um, and that that is what builds a strong relationship. Two people that are being intentional, you know, that can build a very strong relationship. Um, and speaking of intentional, the next one we were talking about was goals. Goals. When you ask a person goals, they have to start thinking. They have to be intentional now. Now you've gotten them into a place to where they're really thinking about things. And so I need to know what your goals are. You need to know what my goals are, because those could be two different things. What goals do you have for the kids? If you're going to have kids, what goals do you have for the kids? Or if you're married, what goals did you have for the kids that your spouse didn't know about?
That's a great point. I would say also be wise to provide regular updates as you mature within
Mm-hmm.
life, your relationships,
Life
and
change.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
Your goals may change,
Mm-hmm.
and as you mature, sometimes your values you
Yep.
may get more. Um, you're better able to define them. You get more clarity.
That's right.
So that you're not going to have all the answers day one, but at least if you don't know what everything is, you should be able to at least voice things that you don't like or don't prefer.
That's right. Yep. Yep. And you have it to where you can just have a conversation. You're having a conversation. It's not a conflict. It's not a battle. It's a conversation. It's a relationship building exercise, is what it is. You're doing it no matter where you go. If you're at a company and you're not performing well, usually what the manager, boss, or whoever, they will say, "What are your goals with this job?" You see what I'm saying? And because then, and if you say, well, it's a place where I go, and money's good, and the benefits good. Oh, okay, so it's just basically what we can do for you. So that's why your performance may not be as high, is because you're getting what you want, but we're not getting what we want.
Exactly.
So
What they're looking for is, what are the things that you're wanting to grow and learn and discover? Do you have any ideas? Those are things that shows that you have a very progressive and forward intentions. And, you
you
know,
want the company to succeed.
yes,
And it
yes,
spills over, and you may say, well, that's about a company. No, that's the same thing with life. it they're really no different. When you think about it, at the end of the day, they're really no different. What are your goals here? What are your goals for the kids? What are your goals, as far as uh, retirement age?
yes.
When would you like to retire? Well, I was thinking of retiring. I want to retire by 40. Okay, that's a lot of hard work that's going to happen. Business building, things like that. Okay, so can you handle them not being at home every day at 5 o'clock?
Those
Maybe
are good
not being
questions.
as available on the weekends. Can you guys figure out a way to work together to where, okay, look, I can't be available every weekend because I'm building something here, but I can give one a month. I can do one a month, and that will actually make me build my business the way that it should be built anyway, to where it can become less dependent on me. But you don't know that until it's like put out on the table.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct, John. And one of the things that I do want to make sure everybody understands, it takes work. It conversations, being transparent, you know, saying you don't quite know or that you're still learning and uncovering. But making efforts, not that you don't know and you're not making any efforts or trying. We want to make sure that everybody in the boat is rowing and rowing in
And
the same
going in
direction.
the same direction. That's right. We've seen that inside of household. Those relationship tug of wars, they're not pretty. They don't
And
end very well. If you don't get it handled, they do not end well at all.
absolutely. And it's okay if you change your thoughts, ideas, and even some goals, and things may change based on the phase of life that the family and the relationship may go through. You just got to be honest with yourself. And if your partner is not having that conversation, encourage them to start having that conversation because sometimes there's silence
Hmm.
but it's speaking so loudly.
True. That's right. So those are the big three that hopefully those helped. Uh, those three questions. What are your values? What is your money style? And what are your goals? If you could start there, you'll be on a good path to to having a good to starting going into a marriage on a good footing, or if you're in a marriage and you go through the process, it can actually repair and build a marriage much stronger. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, John, you mentioned that this sparked a lot of questions, for us that we really would like the viewers to chime in on as well. And what's that question?
Oh yeah, question of the day, because time flies when you're having fun here. We're here at the end of the show. Question of the day is: what is your biggest financial regret and why? What is a I mean, we've talked to I've yet to talk to a person who don't have some financial regret. I mean, I have a book full of them, but it's so many people. And what we want you to do is, with the question of the day, is to share what is your biggest regret and why, so that other people can see they're not in the boat alone. Um, and you ask the question. The reason why I asked the question is so you can ask it yourself outside of yourself, out loud, and then you can work with it. So a lot of times, most people, their regrets aren't voiced, and they're causing problems financially,
Absolutely.
because they're still maybe mad at themselves that they didn't do that investment 5 years ago. They said no, and now it's the latest craze. No, an entrepreneur, he was talking. He said his best friend founded Uber, and he had the money to invest. And he said, I should have just invested off of just my relationship with my friend. But I was like, well, you got to battle cab companies, and they're unionized, and that's like hard to beat. He was like, in this Uber, he said, so I would be worth hundreds of $1 million more had I made that investment, because he wasn't asking for much. He was like, and I had it, and that was my friend. He said, we, college together, each other's homes on the holidays, things like that. And I just did not invest in the relationship, which cost me a lot of money. Biggest regret, you know. And I have mine. We sit here talking about some things, and I'm trying not to tear up. I want it in the show, because I'm starting to get emotional again about those regrets. And so, but if you didn't have anything else, Andrea, we could end it there. This is Friday, and we will be back Monday. So if you don't have anything, we'll end it. Or you want to leave some words of wisdom?
No, I don't have anything to add. I've just enjoyed being able to be a guest this past week, and we hope that this has sparked, some wallet wins to inspire you on. Uh, Please comment on the question, and even if you don't chime in, at least have that conversation with yourself.
Yep, at least have the conversation, because it is good to get by yourself. That's what you should do. In the beginning, get by yourself and ask these questions. What are my values? What are my goals? What is my money style? Then you can go back and start a conversation, and just be patient and say, hey, this is what I've come up with. Um, I ask that you do it, and take your time. And that right there will you know uh, repair a foundation, or start the foundation of being built very well. And just to show that you are open, and you are a reasonable human being. So that would be good to just that would be some good homework. And another thing, if you want to, we do a show, but we work with clients on a daily basis, all areas of finance. So our contact information is on the screen, and if you need someone to talk to. Maybe you are that couple that's about to get married, and you want to talk more about some premarital financial coaching and counseling. We can do that. Or if you're on the other side, you're married and you need someone to come in and play. Now, I guess we could be a referee. I like mediator. I like being a
Me
mediator,
too.
facilitator much better. I don't want to, I don't want to jump in the middle of fights. I don't want to get in the middle of an MMA octagon. Don't want to do that. Uh, just not what I do anymore. It caught me maybe about 15 years ago. I'd have been happy. Now, don't want to get involved with the mess. But I said that to say you can contact us. Our contact information is on the screen, and any questions that you have financially, don't hesitate to contact us. So, on behalf of Andrea McIntyre, myself, John McEntyre, tune in Monday for another episode of John McEntyre Live. Have a great weekend.